Hello everyone, this is me Dimna Singh. I hope you all are doing well. Today I'm gonna discuss the next chapter, that is the age of industrialization. So in this one we will discuss about various inventions that happen and that lead to the age of industrialization. So basically use of machines more and labor should be used less. So machines come into picture. Let's discuss the age of industrialization through the question and answer part. Let's move on to the question part. First is woman worker in Britain attacked the spinning jenny cause a woman worker in Britain attacked the spinning jenny cause it speeded up the spinning process, consequently reduced labor demand. This caused a valid fear of unemployment among women working in the woolen industry. I mean, till date they had survived on hand spinning, but this was placed in by the new machine. In 17th century, merchants from town in Europe began employing peasants and addition within the villages. So the Trade and Commerce Guild controlled the market, raw materials, employ, and also production of goods in the town. This created problem for merchants who wanted to increase production by employing more men. Therefore, they turned to peasants and addition who lived in the villages. The second route, as well as basically the earlier phase of industrialization, which larger scale production was carried out for international market, not at factories but in decentralized units like huge demand and powerful procedure. Like towns procedure were very powerful. Pro- Towns producer, not procedure, so the producer could not expand the production. Well, this was because in the town, urban craft and urban trade guilds were powerful. These were association of producers that trained craftspeople, maintained control over production, regulated competition, then as well as a monopoly right. The ruler granted different guilds a monopoly right to produce and trade in specific product. It was therefore difficult for new merchant to set up business in town, so they turned to the countryside, as well as a new economic situation in the countryside. So you have to write a few points like monopoly right, new economic situation in countryside, powerful town producers, huge market. These are the point you can write in this one. Why the merchant basically turned to countryside. Then third is the port of Surat declined by the end of 18th century. Because most of the European companies had huge resources, so it was very difficult for the Indian merchant and trader to face the competition. European companies were gaining power by securing the right of concession from the local court. Some of the companies got monopoly right to basically all these things. So all these resulted in the decline of old port of Surat in Italy, through which local merchants had operated. Export from these ports fell dramatically. The credit had financed the earlier trade began drying up, and local bankers slowly went bankrupt. Even with the passage of time, Surat and Hooghly decayed, like, and then Bombay and Calcutta, like Mumbai and Calcutta grew, as well as you can write like the port of Surat declined by the end of 18th century on account of growing power of European companies in trade with India. They secured many concessions from local court as well as monopoly right to trade. This led to decline of the old port of Surat and Hooghly, from where local merchants had operated. Exports slowed and local banks went bankrupt. Then last is the East India Company appoint Gumastas to supervise labor in India. So basically, East India Company associate Gumastas were to eliminate the existence of traders and broker and establish a direct control over the weavers, to eliminate weaver from dealing with other buyer by means of advances and control. In this manner, weavers who took loan and fees in advance were obligated to the British. Then second is you have to write true and false. So it's very easy. True, false are the true, false. So At the end of the 19th century, 80% of the total workforce in Europe was employed in the technologically advanced industry. Now, with the coming of these machines age, people basically lose their jobs. So that is false. Then B, the international market for fine textile was dominated by India till the year. That's true. Third is the American Civil War resulted in the reduction of cotton export from no, not at all. That is false statement. The introduction of fly settle enabled handloom worker to improve their productivity. No, yeah, that's true. That's true. Explain what is meant by proto-industrialization. Proto-industrialization is the phase of industrialization that was not based on the factory system. Before the coming of factories, there was large-scale industrial production for an international market. This part of industrial history is known as proto-industrialization. Basically, the prior phase of industrialization in which large was carried out for industrial market, not at factory, but in a decentralized unit. That is proto-industrialization. Then, why did some industries in 19th century Europe prefer hand labor over machines? Because expensive new technology machines were expensive, so the producers and industries were cautious about using them. Then costlier repair, the machines often broken down and the repair was costly. Third is like less effective. They were not as effective as their invention and manufacturer claimed. Fourth is availability of cheap labor. Poor peasants and migrant moved to cities in large number in search of a job, so the supply of workers was more than the demand. Therefore, workers were available at low wages than uniform machine-made goods. So, a range of products could be produced only with hand labor. Machines were originated or oriented to producing uniform standardized goods for mass market, but the demand in market was often for goods and intricate design and specific shapes. So in the middle 19th century, Britain, for instance, like 500 varieties of hammers were produced and 15 kind of axes. So these required human skill, not mechanical technology. All these you can write here in this question. In some, if you want to sum up, you can write like machines were costly, ineffective, difficult to repair, and needed huge capital investment. Then labor was available at low wages, like I said. Then season industry only seasonal labor was required. Then market demand of variety of design and color specific could not be fulfilled by machines made clothes. Then in Victorian age, the aristocrat and other upper class people preferred article made by hand only. Then, how did the East India Company procure regular supply of cotton, silk, textile from Indian weavers? So, the English East India Company used different means to procure silk and cotton from weavers, like appointment of paid supervisor called gomthas. They also collected supplies and examined cloth quality of the weavers, then prevention of company weaver from dealing with other buyer through a system of advances and loan. This you can write. Then actually I'm getting a backup, so that's why. Then you can write in this one like monopoly right. Once the East India Company established political power, it asserted monopoly right to trade the new system. Then appointing Gomthas, I said the company tried to eliminate the existing trade and broker connected with this trade, so establish a more direct control over weaver. Then system of advance, use of power. The places where the weaver refused to cooperate, the company used its police. At many places, weaver were often beaten, flogged for delay in supply. So you can main point I'm gonna again tell you like monopoly right, new system, appointment, Gomthas, system of advances, use of power. These you can write in it. The next question is this is imagine that you have been asked to write an article for an encyclopedia in Britain and history of cotton right of pieces information. So you this is kind of a self-explanatory question. You can do it by your own self because that's going to be way too long. Like during the 17th 18th century, merchant would trade with ruler people in textile production. Then clothes would buy wool from clothier would buy wool from a wool stapler, carry it on the spinners, and then take the yarn to weavers. Then you can write about first symbol of New Era factories was cotton, then most invention in the textile pro. So this question is about. So the next question is why did industrial production in India increases during First World War? Basically, you write like British industries became busy in producing and supplying war needs. Hence, they stopped exporting British goods or clothes for colonial market like that in India. Then, it was a good opportunity for Indian industry to fill in empty Indian market with their product. It was done so, therefore, industrial production in India increased. Also, the British colonial government asked Indian factory to supply the war needs like jute bags, clothes for army uniforms, stamps, and leather goods, horses and mules, terror, etc. The increased amount of variety of product led to the setting up of new factories and old ones increased their production. Many new workers were employed and everyone was made to work long hours. As I said, decline of Manchester with the British mills busy with war production to meet the need of the army. Then Manchester import into India decline. Like I'm again explaining this in a detailed form. Then increase in demand with the decline of imports. Suddenly, Indian mills had a vast home market to supply the demand from army as the war prolonged. Indian factories were collected upon to supply war need that is jute bag, like I said, the new factories set up. Then downfall of British industry and boom for home industry. After war, Manchester could never recapture its old position in the Indian market, unable to modernize and compete with the US, Germany, and Japan. The economy of Britain crumbled after the war. Cotton production collapsed and export of cotton cloth from Britain fell dramatically. Within colonies, local industries gradually consolidated their position, substitute foreign manufacturing capturing the home market. Like in India, you write all these questions. So we are done with this chapter that is age of industrialization. In next chapter, we'll talk about next chapter. That's for today. Thank you.